who I have not met yet. Just giving everyone a chance to get in. I hope you've taken a look at the chat if it's not open for any messages. But I just wanted to give a warm welcome to everybody to this workshop and thank my co-presenters for joining me today. We have Regina Barboza from Newark Arts. We have Wendy and Anisha from Artspace and Nikkei Dowdell from Economic and Housing Development. Also, Marta from the Newark Land Bank representing Invest Newark. So thank you everybody for joining, and I'll pass it off to Wendy and Anisha to start.
Wonderful. Anisha is starting, and Kelly is our colleague also joining us.
Thank you, Anisha.
Yes, thank you everyone for coming. We'll be kind of monitoring the chat as we go. Any kind of larger Q&A though we will have at the end and have some time. We have a really dynamic group of presenters today, and we're going to be using an online platform called Mentimeter for this workshop. And so if you can see on your screen, you'll see if you go to menti.com, there's a code at the top, and I'll drop it in the chat as well. But you can participate live in this question right now as kind of folks are joining the room as well, and we'll get started shortly. We would just love to know the Newark arts and culture scene a little bit better. So what makes it unique, and what are some of your favorite things about it?
Oh, I love it when people are participating right away. Some of you have probably used Menti during the pandemic.
And we're going to use this for a couple questions throughout the presentation. So if you have any trouble logging on, you can do this from your phone separately in a browser. You can do it in a different window on your computer. But if you have any trouble, just reach out to Kelly, and she's kind of our tech guru today on the call. And feel free to repeat answers if you already see them, because it will just make the word cloud get bigger more times the word is repeated. And I love to see music festivals, the October Arts Festival. We'd heard about the Tubman Monument from Femi and her team, so great to see that up there too. The murals, perfect. Well, it looks like a number of you have figured out how to get into Menti. I'm going to move on to get started with our presentation for today. So our workshop tonight is called Creative Space Planning 101, and we are based in Minneapolis for Artspace, but we have done a number of creative space developments around the country, and just are here to kind of talk about the basics of how do you get a creative space project started, as well as this art space initiative in Newark. And so we'd love to know a little bit more about who's in the room today. The City of Newark will talk through this initiative and how this kind of came to be. Newark Arts is here as well to talk about what they do and invest Newark's local resources and programs, and that's through the Newark Land Bank. And then we'll talk about a little bit about space planning and talk about the next steps in workshop 2, how to kick this all off. So again, our presenters today are a mix of us, so you'll hear from many of us tonight. All right, quickly back to Menti. We'd love to know, what hats do you wear in your community? Kind of who's in the room and who's represented here today. So you should be able to click all of these in Mentimeter that you represent. And presenters also, please feel free to fill this out. Right, I see there's a number of artists, creative maker, culture bearers in the room, as well as nonprofit leaders and business owners. So a good dynamic group. Is anyone having trouble filling out Menti or figuring it out? And what type of organization or business do you represent? And if it's if it's none of these, just feel free to write into chat also. I love seeing how it quickly comes in and the results change really fast. Right, so there's a good mix of nonprofits as well as individual artists today, a couple for-profits. And yeah, feel free to write into chat if there's something that we missed. Manager of city property. Thank you, Keith. City employees, I probably should have put as well as a category in themselves. And since today's topic is all about space, right? Is your space meeting your needs? Do you need other type of space? And I know you had a little bit of an intro question when you filled out the Eventbrite also, but understanding about your space needs. So we just want to kind of set a baseline and understand about where are you at with your space right now? So if you don't have space, but most of you do not have a space that's meeting your needs. I don't even see one yes. Yes, we have the perfect space so far. I wonder, Regina, if this surprises you at all, or if you know this.
No, I mean, I didn't know it, but it's very telling. Just very telling.
Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna go back. I saw a couple more coming in.
Mhm.
All right. Well, thank you. This just kind of helps us understand who's in the room really fast as we kind of go through the next parts of our presentation. So appreciate it. And feel free again to drop any other thoughts or comments in chat as we go along. And I'm going to turn it over to Regina.
Hi, it's really great to see a number of folks I know on the Zoom. As many of you know, Newark Arts has been around for 42 years, advocating for the arts and powering the arts ecosystem and in support of that. In terms of resources, funding, advocacy for artists to, in the case of space, to stay in place as much as we can, help facilitate that. And the pillars of Newark Arts programming are the Newark Arts Festival. I see that some people put up that that's one of their favorite things. And that's an annual thing that we do to showcase the richness of and diversity of the scope of the arts in Newark. And it also, that time, it's usually 4 days in October. The last couple of years, we've extended it for the entire month of October. And it really showcases all of the, visual arts, but there's also performing arts, and demonstrates Newark as a 24/7, art city. And it is a city of the arts with an arts mayor. So I find that to be really unique in terms of as a city. You can go to the next slide, I think. So yeah, we Newark Arts some years ago, many of you may have participated, led a number of community convenings over 18 months in order to develop the city's cultural plan called Newark Creates. Hopefully some of that is taking hold and bubbling up into the city's master plan. If there were 3 things that we could take away from that, the real needs to have a really thriving arts community in the city of Newark is to have funding, space, and coordination. So the funding kicked off in January of 2020 when Mayor Baraka announced he announced the Creative Catalyst Fund. And Newark Arts has been the fiscal conduit for those funds. You know, we're happy to see that take place because resources are sorely needed. And then the other recommendation of the plan was to have coordination. So in terms of someone internal to city government who can kind of direct and be the creative liaison, if you will, for the city. And that's the lovely and wonderful Fayemi Shakur. And it's been a pleasure partnering with her over the years. And then the third need was for space, which, you know, obviously we're now addressing, and that's a really great thing. Newark Arts also does the Art Start program. So for 22 years, we've been issuing mini grants that are almost like a cultural trust to really provide in-community arts access. And, you know, so that grant opportunity actually just closed the night before last, I think it was. And that's basically, you know, an overview of who we are. So happy to be here, and I'm happy to learn, you know, where this conversation will go.
And by that, I'm going to turn it to Fayemi to talk more about the Division of Arts and Cultural Affairs.
Yes, good evening again. One moment while I pop out. So I've never really publicly shared what the mission of my office is. So this slide really just informs you all, what is it that we do for arts and cultural affairs? Supporting community engagement for programming and events throughout the city, overseeing our art initiatives, some of which Regina just talked about. You all know about the Creative Catalyst Fund. This particular initiative, which we're calling the Newark Artspace Initiative, some of you may remember the mayor talked about this when I first joined the administration. He announced that he wanted to provide 3 to 5 city-owned properties for arts organizations. And so finally, after the pandemic, you know, we're able to partner with Artspace to help provide some technical assistance to help guide folks through this process. Part of what my office also does is provide organizational support to existing and evolving art institutions, developing a world-class public art program, encouraging collaborative partnerships and investment in the city's artists and arts and cultural organizations, and supporting the creation of a more sustainable, equitable, inclusive, creative economy in Newark that enlivens our neighborhoods and fires the imaginations of our children. Next slide. So a little bit more about the the Newark Arts Initiative. I just wanted Artspace Initiative, just to go over the mission. It was created to implement a leasing program that will provide those properties at an affordable price per year to qualified applicants. Qualified applicants meaning arts organizations, artist collectives, nonprofits, and community development corporations. Who could apply for this program? Well, the lead applicant would have to be a nonprofit or an LLC for at least 1 year. Individual artists are not eligible to apply, but they can partner with other organizations or collectives. And the goal is really about sustainability of our Newark-based arts organizations, providing affordable space and a pathway to ownership. But what we didn't want to do is we didn't want to just say, okay, folks, here are the properties, they need to be revitalized. How good luck, apply and put you all out there without any real meaningful support. And so this is where Artspace comes in. Back to you,
Thank you,
Nisha.
Jaime. And just a quick kind of about the timeline. We'll talk about this at the end as well, but we're doing the big workshop today to kind of talk about what the program is, as Femi just beautifully outlined. And then over the summer, we'll do a little bit more in depth about kind of where those properties, the ones that she mentioned, as the city is still identifying them. And then the application would open, selected participants would be notified, and we're offering technical assistance through this program, about up to 5 sessions, one-on-one with groups who want space. So that's kind of how the program outline will work. And again, this was the eligibility that Femi just mentioned. Some of the topics that we would cover through that coaching program is kind of your project concept refinement. What type of space do you need? Making out project timelines, talking about partnerships, fundraising, developing a case statement. How do you communicate your project? Reviewing contracts, drafting capital and operating budgets, financing and loans, site assessment, and different types of best practices that we've seen over the course of our work with different arts organizations. And with that, I'm going to turn it to the Newark Land Bank to talk about more of your local resources that exist. To Martha.
Thank you. So here at the Newark Land Bank, many of you or some of you may know that we got established in 2021. We get our properties directly from the city, and some of the goals of the land bank, as you see on the slides, are to boost home ownership, reduce blight, create affordable and market rate housing, increase minority developer capacity and women developers, expand neighborhood opportunities for businesses, increase property values, support community goals, and overall improve the quality of life for Newark residents. In a nutshell, we are stewards of vacant and abandoned property. We take properties that the city forecloses on, and we help the city in putting this property back into productive use by doing one of the things that we mentioned, that I just mentioned on the slide. So I'm going to talk a little bit about how the opportunities in the land bank come about in this next slide. Next slide. Sorry. Okay, so the Newark Land Bank has about 4 different homeownership equitable opportunities. And we call it equitable homeownership opportunities because we make sure that everyone has an equal opportunity to come and apply to purchase a property from us, a home. So these are homes that we get from the city, and some of them we rehab and put them back out for sale, and some of them we give residents and non-residents the opportunity to purchase as is and renovating themselves. So the most popular homeownership opportunity that we have at the land bank is the Section 8 voucher conversion, which qualified Section 8 voucher recipients who are renters are eligible to convert their vouchers into a mortgage voucher. They do this going through the housing authority, who would qualify them and send them to an organization in the city called NACA that would help them convert their voucher to a mortgage voucher and pre-qualify them for a mortgage. What we do at Invest Newark is we take the homes and rehab them, and then have them ready for those Section 8 participants to be able to buy them. Another homeownership opportunity we have is the Moving Ready, And this is similar to the Section 8 that in the sense that we rehab the home and we put them out for sale to eligible buyers. We are right now ready to put out 2 move-in-ready homes. So if you are not registered on our website, if you want to be informed on when these ones come out, you should register so you could get notified. So persons that are interested in purchasing a move-in-ready home need to be pre-approved, have a mortgage pre-approval, and be within. We try to target the population that is within 80% of AMI to be able to qualify for these homes. Some of the benefits of buying a move-in-ready home is that you can apply for the $10,000 first-time home buyer grant that the city offers, and you can apply that to your purchase. And also, we are in the process of applying also the 5-year tax abatement from the City of Newark. If you are eligible to get this home, you'll be able to get some savings by not having to pay full taxes for the first 5 years. We also have a Pro Newark. This opportunity is for residents and non-residents that are interested in purchasing a home to rehab. So you come to the land bank and apply to purchase this home. You have to partner with a qualified contractor that will help you develop a budget, and it will help you with a scope of work. Again, you have to be pre-qualified with a loan, most likely a 203K loan that would allow you to do the construction or the rehabilitation of a home. And you should have your funds, your pre-approval letter with you when you come to apply, and also the funds to purchase the property. Similar to that is the Resident Advantage. The only difference is that Resident Advantage is reserved exclusively for Newark residents, so we set aside a few properties for this program. So in order to qualify, you need to be a Newark resident. And again, you need to partner with a qualified contractor that would guide you to the process, be pre-qualified for a loan to be able to do the rehab. We also have a side lot initiative, and these are non-buildable lots that are very small in size and therefore they're not appropriate for building anything on them. And what we do is we generally offer them to adjacent owners that can take the lot and add it to their property. They can add it as a side yard, or they can use it for a garage or an addition that they want to do in their home. So there's not, the only requirement to purchase these side lots is that you are the adjacent owner and that you are not behind in taxes or water payment. We also have other opportunities for vacant land. Some of those opportunities, we offer them as requests for proposals. So some bigger lots that we have, we kind of assemble them together, and we kind of ask the public or the developers to let us know what they can build in these lots. Sometimes we tell them what we want to see built in these lots, so we issue the request for proposals. We get them, we evaluate them, and we try to choose the best possible developer for the project. We have another program where nonprofit businesses in the city can come to us, and we help them find a property if they want to use it for their business. They can only use it to kind of conduct their business from this property. All of our initiatives, if we sell you a property, you have to, whether if it's in a structure, you are required to rehab it within certain amount of time, and if it is a vacant lot, you are required to build on it within certain amount of time. This goes also for any local business, whether they're that are not nonprofit as well. We can also work with them to help them find a property for their business. So most, all of our sales contribute to the economic development of our city. We are constantly looking to rebuild our neighborhoods and make keep the properties in our city by primarily selling to our residents. Next slide, please. So here I have some information on how to access our website. If you're interested, you can come to our website and look around. I see that I didn't put the actual website, but I drop it in the chat so that you guys could click on it and go to the website. You can find information on all of our programs. You should, if you're interested, register so that you can get notification when we have new opportunities for property sales. Thank you.
Thank you, Martha. Yeah, and they have an awesome map tool that we were having fun playing around with too, about how you can find all the different properties and areas where they are. So thank you so much. And if folks have questions directly for Martha or Regina, feel free to drop them in the chat too. They can help answer while we go on.
Yep.
And with that, I'm going to turn to my colleague Wendy.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Wendy Holmes with Artspace. So just backing up a little bit, Anisha has given you a little bit of that background about Artspace. We are a nonprofit organization. We're based in Minneapolis. We work all over the country. And our mission is very simple. It's to create, foster, and preserve affordable space and sustainable space for artists and arts organizations. And the closest building that we own and operate for artists to you is PS 109 in East Harlem. So this is a map of our work across the country. The dark blue is where we own and operate affordable spaces for the creative community. The other blue dots are where we've consulted, and then the green dots are where we've done technical assistance with groups of arts and cultural organizations. So you can see that that's a big and growing concern of ours too, and that's called the Immersion Program. And in the next slide, we'll break that down a little bit more. We work with arts organizations who have space needs of their own, much like some of you on this Zoom call today, right? And that's why part of the reason why we were chosen through the RFP process to help guide this work and provide support for the organizations who are interested in space. We've worked on policy level kinds of things to change the policy to positively impact the creation of space for artists. And we've worked with cities and towns cities as large as New York City and LA, and towns as small as 450 in Grand Lake, Colorado. So it's a lot of different kinds of work, but all supporting people and cities who are creating space for the creative sector. And with that, we'll move on to the next slide. So we wanted to talk to you about planning for space today and deliver you some information about how that's done, right? And what you see below is the 6 pillars or 6 things that you need to be focused on when you're focused on space. And Anisha and I will share information about each of those. When you look at real estate and you're a nonprofit or an individual artist who wants to form a collective to identify space, that's not your expertise. Your expertise is in programming, right? So we just want to call that out. When you're running an organization or when you're thinking about space, real estate's not necessarily your expertise, right? And managing that real estate or that space requires a completely different skill than running an organization or a collective. And each different scenario is very unique. But when you're beginning, you need to think about that big picture first. What is it that you're trying to achieve? What is it that you need to move forward and really make that case? And we like to say your roof doesn't care about your mission. So That's the dichotomy here, is that real estate and programming don't necessarily go together. So that's why you need some help when you're thinking about space and real estate. So we developed this tool called the Artspace Development and Planning Tool, ADAPT. And we broke that down into 6 elements: leadership, project concept, cost analysis, location, funding, and communications. And each of those are important pillars in this organization that you're trying to focus on around your space. So the first one is leadership. And when you're talking about leadership, you're really talking about the team of people. Maybe it's one person to start with, but you need more than one person to help you and with your space project, right? So maybe it's a board member, maybe it's a friend, maybe it's a family member. You need to assemble that team and make sure you're all in alignment in pursuing that space. The next one is project concept. What is the space initiative that you're trying to achieve? What are the rooms? How many square feet do you need? Do you need space to perform? Do you need space for an office? Do you need space to conduct other kinds of business? Do you need a gallery space? What is it that you need to do the kind of programming that you want to do? What's the function and what's that vision? So that's the project concept. And then moving from project concept, of course, you need to get into how much is it going to cost? What are the costs that are associated with planning and constructing and building out and operating the space? And does your organization have the financial capacity to take it on? So those are some of the things that we think about. Those are the first 3, and then Anisha will take you through the next 3.
Thanks, Wendy. And yes, so, and also when we think about location, so where do you want to be? Where is your community best served? What are the priority features that you need in the location and neighborhood? Is your organization equipped to kind of understand how to work with a broker and start thinking about locations and spaces on that front? And so we'll, the self-assessment, which you'll see at the very end, we'll drop a link in chat as well for you all to complete that for your own organizations and to kind of feel out the readiness. And then funding, the financial sources needed to pay for space. So would you have the capacity and interest to do a capital campaign? Do you know all the things that go into a capital campaign? Are you set up to receive grants right now? Are you a 501c3? How would you kind of fundraise in that capacity? Do you have access to a grant writer or a fundraiser or someone on your board that maybe plays that role for you? So that's kind of the bigger picture of when you're thinking about kind of taking on a space, especially one with large capital cost. How would you fund it, or how would you approach it? And then communications, planning, kind of how do you communicate internally and externally about this space? Is this a huge mission shift? Is this something that your members or your creative pursuit really relies on? And so it's a very necessary next step that's needed. Who will you be keeping engaged in that process and updating during each phase? You know, I'm sure many of you do many different things, and what is that space that you need, and how are you communicating what that space's goal is? And so we talk often about what the project vision is, which is different than your mission statement as an organization. And with that, I'm going to turn to my colleague Kelly to get us back to Menti for some fun questions.
Thanks, Anisha. I'm going to drop the link into chat again, just in case anyone needs to reference that again or joined after we talked about this whole Menti thing. So tune back into your device and answer this first question. Are you interested in renting or owning space for your arts organization or business? So obviously there's pros and cons to both scenarios, and there's no one right answer. It really depends on where your organization is currently at. And we find often when we are starting to work with an organization on their own space related project that they're usually in an undecided place when they begin. So if that was your answer, don't feel like you're less you're less ahead of the game than folks who maybe are considering one scenario over the other. Another question we like to pose to organizations embarking on space is, would you be interested in sharing or partnering a space with another organization? Getting several yeses. We often hear yes as a response, being that the arts tend to be very collaborative, and there's a lot of possibilities that can then happen when you're in space with one another. And one more question. So as Wendy was alluding, thinking about the vision and the function of your space, we're curious to know what types of spaces would you be interested in renting, in this case, if available in Newark. It'd be great feedback for the city to understand what spaces would you utilize. And if we've missed a space type, feel free to type that into the chat as well. And the things that are rising to the forefront are event space, nonprofit office workspace, the shared creative maker space that could be, in our minds, industrial or light industrial, co-working space as well. Also seeing rehearsal space is a need. And that also private long-term studio spaces of interest. In the chat, we're hearing that multimedia spaces and a visual arts gallery. Here's a great one too, outdoor creative space. Yes, especially as we're approaching summer, can relate to that. An all-in-one space like event space, absolutely. Yes, thanks for chatting, putting that in the chat, Anisha. Private to us usually means rented on a minimum of a year-long lease, as opposed to hourly.
Regina, I'm sure you love seeing all the event space needs, right? I feel like that's the one big thing that we kept hearing.
Yeah. Well, the big conundrum, there's lots of vacant space in Newark, and yet there is high demand for space. That's always been the dilemma.
Yeah, and with that, we're going to put a link in chat to kind of talk about the next steps in the follow-up workshop. And this is kind of the self-assessment, the one that we talked about, those 6 criteria around how would you assess your organization or your readiness to take on a space project? And there's no right or wrong answers. It's really just for us to understand where's the community at when it kind of comes to the readiness to approach a space project. And so you'll see a number of questions. And Kelly, thank you for dropping that in. And you'll also be able to receive this link as follow-up. And so feel free to share it with organizations who might not have attended today. But once you complete that, you will be invited automatically to workshop 2, which is the date is still to be decided, but likely summer 2023 to this summer. So in a few months. But if this kind of program interests you, it's really about specifically to get more into the weeds on this Artspace initiative with the City of Newark. And so kind of that decision point is that if you if you find that this is interesting and talking about entering into the property LOI, which is the letter of intent with the city for long-term space, and that's geared to only nonprofits, or if you're pursuing a space project independently and want some real estate technical assistance, that would also kind of be through this coaching program. Definitely attend workshop 2 and fill out that self-assessment that's in the chat. If you are not interested in long-term space, but you would rank yourself very low on the self-assessment, it's always helpful for groups to kind of record why and the conditions that would need to be met. Is it board development? Is it different, we don't, we're not set up to receive grants. We're not set up as a 501c3, whatever it might be. It's kind of a helpful tool, that self-assessment, to understand why you might rank yourself low and why you would want to, what kind of conditions you could revisit. And then no-go again for individual artists. This program is specifically geared from the city side for arts collectives, nonprofits, or for creative businesses. And
Anisha,
yeah.
can we go back to that slide? This is Miami. So I on the no-go section for individual artists, can't see me. I just wanted to say this is a good opportunity, I guess, to consider, would you want to partner with a nonprofit? If you wouldn't be eligible for the city's leasing art space program, you can certainly partner with another organization, and then that organization could serve as the lead applicant on the LOI. So for individual artists, it's a good opportunity to just start thinking about what organizations might I be able to work with on something like this and have a shared space.
Absolutely. Thank you, Fayemi, for mentioning that. And so workshop 2, at that workshop, kind of the follow-up to this, it'll be talking more about how do you advance your readiness, how do you apply for the program. It will be kind of a brief application process, matchmaking and partnership exercises we'll conduct, and then understanding the Newark letter of intent and the potential sites that are in consideration to see if you are interested in any of those spaces or in furthering your kind of space planning. And again, to receive that Zoom invitation for workshop 2, I just fill out the self-assessment that's in the Zoom chat, and you'll follow up with an email as well to everyone who participated today. And with that, I'm gonna, again, here's all of our information and resources. These are the different groups that presented today, and you're always welcome to get in touch with us directly. But I'm gonna open it up to questions. So feel free to take yourself off mute and just ask your question directly, or you can use the hand tool or put it in chat. But we are open for questions on the program or on any of the available resources you heard about today.
And if you don't want to talk, you can pop them in the chat. That's okay too.
Hi, I was late for the presentation. Would I be able to go back and sort of catch up on the things that I missed, or no?
Yes, it was recorded.
Yay.
So, yes.
You can also include the slides and the information as a PDF, kind of in a follow-up to everyone.
Oh, yay. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
I have a question. Is this specifically for established businesses only, or is there space for new up and coming businesses that, on the rise businesses, startup businesses?
I think, Fayemi, you may want to answer that one specifically, but I think the answer is yes.
So the city's Artspace initiative, which is a leasing program, is for nonprofits or LLCs that have been in existence for at least 1 year. If you're new and you haven't been in existence for 1 year, you could partner with another organization or community development organization, nonprofit, LLC, on taking a look at the space. These spaces that the city is offering you're able to lease for $1 per year. And after year 5, you would have an option to buy the property. These properties are also in need of rehabilitation. So in the next workshop 2, we'll kind of get more into detail about where these spaces are located, what goes into renovating a space, what is the cost for those things to renovate a space, and just Artspace is just going to be with us throughout this process to help folks understand how to apply and how to work through each step of the way.
Thank you.
You're welcome. I see Artfront Galleries in the chat.
Hi. Artfront has been around for about 5 years. We are a 501c3. We, because our business model is something that you guys would find very, very peculiar. We don't look for permanent space. We only look for temporary space. We find vacant spaces on commercial corridors. We open them up, supply some liability coverage for the owners. We bring in local and regional artists, and we hope that we can bring enough foot traffic, because this, a la Jane Jacobs, we turn on the lights and people will come and see it, and somebody will drive by or go on a bus and say, hey, busy space, I can put my business here. We are intentionally, in that sense, intentionally non-sustainable, and we really have not found a home or welcoming from. I'll look for Roz again next time, but we have not really found that these groups understand the idea, and they really are terrified, apparently, by the concept that you are intentionally non-sustainable, even though we have consistently helped vacant spaces owners find permanent tenants, and we have shown and sold the work of a whole bunch of artists. We just don't see, we are the square peg in your round hole. And it's fine with us, but we would like other people to kind of get the idea that they don't have to go to the stakeholders all the time. They can do a lot of things. If we're 6 people, they can do a lot of things themselves. They can do a lot of things without the kind of guidance that you people think we should all have.
Timothy, thank you for raising that. I'm familiar with the work that Artfront does and the temporary space. And Anisha, is that one of the questions on the self-assessment? Are you interested in temporary or pop-up space in the city?
Yes, it is. Yep.
Okay. So we definitely did consider that and are looking at models that have been shared with us for programs like that. It would be great working in collaboration with EHD if we could find developers who would be open to partnering with organizations such as yours. So
I'll tell you, we find the developers, and sometimes the developers find us, because some of them specifically will tell us it's because they have difficulty navigating the organizations and systems and bureaucracies. Bureaucracy is not a bad thing that you guys set up. They have different requirements, they have different needs. Because we're tiny, we can fulfill those needs usually, and big organizations can't.
I appreciate that.
Or don't bother to.
I appreciate that and definitely understand that challenge and opportunity. So as folks are filling out the self-assessment, if this is something, a direction that you're interested in, like Artfront Galleries, please make sure you note that in your assessment.
Thank you. And I see another great question from Malik Whitaker on what's the projected...
Hi, Malik.
Malik. Oh, sorry. What's the projected timeline for when the spaces will be available and the timeline for applying? So if I am
Malik just wants to jump right into it.
I know. Great question.
I do.
I,
I do.
I understand, Malik. Malik was like, when is this getting popping? We have not yet set a date for it yet, but workshop number 2, as Anisha mentioned, will be this summer. So you just kind of have to walk with us through the process. The spaces, though, have been identified by the city. Right now, we just want to assess what folks who want to apply, what those needs are, to see how we can best serve the space needs that are being brought up. So
And
all I
there's-
can tell you, Malik, is come to workshop too.
I will be there. Cement
Okay.
gallery is in desperate need of a space, so I will definitely be there.
Okay, excellent.
There's another question, Fayemi.
Malik
I think
is
a lot of these
doing-
are for you.
Malik is doing a project with us right now, and we're very pleased to work with him. And it is not going to cost him a nickel. It is going to be in a good space that is an ongoing new business in Newark on Broad Street. They need the foot traffic. Malik needs a space to show work. We could make that connection. Other people could too.
Mhm. I see Emma's question. Does the technical assistance include advocacy in terms of dealing with code compliance, variances, and permits? That's an excellent question. And yes, my office would certainly be able to work with you. That wouldn't be something that Artspace would do, but that would be something that the city would definitely, specifically my office, work with EHD to help address any questions or concerns about those things.
Thank you so much, Fayemi.
No problem.
And
Yes.
Eyes Like Mine has been patiently waiting with a hand raised. So just want to
Okay.
give you space.
Yes, hello. My name is Crystal Allen, and I'm the president at Eyes Like Mine, Inc. I'm a Newark resident, and my organization is local to Newark, where we do a lot of work regarding visual impairments and sharing resources. And we have an event coming up on Friday called Dancing with the Blind. So if you heard of Dancing with the Stars, we got Dancing with the Blind, and it's a performing arts program where the sighted and blind come together and compete against each other through dance. And when I heard about this meeting today, I was so interested because we've been doing our work since 2014. And I don't know of any places in our city that have, identifiable space for our residents with disabilities. I'm also a resident with a disability, and I really wanted to know more about the process. I came in a little late. I'm sorry, I'm a busy bee. I was just at NJPAC's Wellness Festival, and I just got settled, and I wanted to just not miss this meeting because it would be so ideal if we had representation in space for residents with disabilities, and not just a space where it's like a babysitting center or old adult daycare, but a space that they can utilize their talents and skills and really represent what inclusion means in our city.
Thank you. Tell me your name again.
Crystal Allen.
Crystal Allen. Thank you, Crystal. A question, would the space be for programming or office space that you're referring to?
Well, I was in search of programming and maybe a little office space if we needed to have a meeting of some kind, but mainly programming because we do a lot with our Dancing with the Blind and support groups and assistive technology training.
Got it. Make sure you fill out the self-assessment. And also, I think there's a slide with my email address as well. If anyone has follow-up questions before workshop 2, you can reach me at shakurf@ci.newark.nj.us.
Great. And I think Angel or Angel has her hand up.
It's Angel. Thank you so much. I'm just curious, in a perfect timeline scenario, what exactly would be the process? I understand we don't have a specific date for workshop 2, but if we're speaking seasonally, for instance, what is the most ideal timeline for either programming or otherwise, as far as the application and then say, open doors?
Mm.
What are you guys envisioning ideally? Like, you know, no mistakes, no hiccups.
I realistically, I don't know, it could be a 2-year process because these space need to be renovated, right? So if, for instance, we announce the LOI in August or September, we would take a couple of months to have a selection committee review the applications and make the selections. And then, sometime this year, folks will be available to tour and look at the properties. I think we have 2 in the South Ward and 2 in the West Ward. We do not have any city-owned properties downtown, but the purpose really also of this program is to activate our neighborhoods and support neighborhood revitalization. We have all seen how art spaces help to activate our neighborhoods. And so anyone who is applying for the program would have to provide artistic or cultural programming for residents in the space that they're applying for, as well as whatever it is they intend to use it for. But we want to make sure that these spaces are activated, if that makes sense.
100%. One very brief last question. In regards to the construction and contractors, would they be required to be Newark City contractors, or would that be taken into account for our applications? Say, I mean, I don't, but if I had a brother who was a contractor and was going to be helping, is that something that would or could potentially affect?
That's great. We haven't gotten to that part yet, but I would say in your letter of interest, if you were applying for that, if you have existing people on your team, it would be excellent to list those partners and how they would contribute to the project. That I think something like that would definitely strengthen an application. Yes.
All right, and there's a question, Fayemi, about where and what are the spaces that have been identified. I think the city is still looking for those opportunities, but you should answer that.
I can tell you that they are in the West Ward and the South Ward. And if you're interested, please come to workshop 2 to learn more.
Perfect answer. Let's see. Are there any other questions in the chat?
I have a question. This is Crystal.
Mm.
Will we be able to receive each other's contact information for the people who participated? Is there like
if you want to be connected to any type of organization in particular, please email me. And that's exactly what I was thinking of as you were talking. I was like, oh, she could have her programs at this place or this place. She could apply for an Art Start grant, which just passed. So I'm glad to be connected with you. Please email me and I'd be happy to share more information with you.
Okay. So I use a screen reader because I'm legally blind. Would you mind announcing your email?
Yes, no problem. Shakur F, spelled S as in Sam, HAKUR, F as in Frank, at ci.newark.nj.us.
Okay, Shakur F at ci.newark.nj.us.
Yes, and if you're able, can you tell me your email address or put it in the chat?
Okay, I'll share my digital business card link.
Thank you.
Great. Are there any other questions? And at the follow-up meeting for folks who are more interested specifically in this program, we will do some breakout and partnership workshop exercises around space. So definitely attend that if you're interested in partnering on space or learning more specifically with those folks who want to pursue this initiative.
I know folks are anxious to get to the next step. This is really, as we promoted it, an introductory workshop to get a sense of what kinds of space are needed and who needs the space. So the information you provide us with today will help inform our next workshop.
And there's a number of folks here from the city who are being shy too, who are attending to learn more about to kind of understand the needs of all these arts groups too, because they're all here as your advocates also.
Yes, I know Keith Hamilton, our senior property manager for economic and housing development, is present, and Nikkei Dowdow, she is here also from economic and housing development. We have the land bank here. I'm not sure who else is hiding. Dr. Hurd says that she is willing to share contact information as well. Can you put your website or information in the chat, Dr. Hurd?
Indeed, I will now.
And I see a question from Eyes Like Mine about the next meeting date. It has not been set, but it's anticipated in around probably late summer. So we're hoping by August to be able to host that.
Thank you. And I guess just to follow up, why is it being held late summer? One of the things my office is trying to work on is making sure we have some resources to support folks who would be applying for this space. If you are an organization that has the capital already and is ready to take a look at property and has financing available to do that, that's excellent. You should reach out to me and let me know. But I'm assuming folks would need some sort of support, right? And so that's what I'm looking at on my end. And hopefully we'll have more information and resources to share by our next workshop.
Okay, any other questions? You've been a great group. Unless Fayemi, there's anything else you want to say, I think we'll make it a wrap.
No, I think that's it. I thank you all so much for your expertise and being available to us. I think this is going to be great for our city and our arts community.
When is the next meeting date?
This summer. Well, we
don't have that yet.
To
be
determined,
but we will keep in touch for sure.
And definitely feel free to share that link with other networks in that you know of who need space too, if they were unable to attend. And we'll follow up with the recording and the slides from today.
So we'll get the link and then we can share that to this workshop. Is that
for the self-assessment? Yeah.
I will email those links to all of the people who registered on Eventbrite.
Okay.
Thank you, Fayemi. Thank you, Wendy and Anisha from Artspace. And thank you, Regina. Thank all of you for the information that you shared today. And I think I forgot the person from Land Bank, but thank you to all of you for the information that you shared. We look forward to hearing about the next meeting. You can see we are all
right.
Chomping at the bit.
Yes, that's a good thing.
Excellent.
This is the first foray into making sure that there was a need and the setup and all of it all works. So we're excited that there's so much enthusiasm. Thank you all. We look forward to chatting with you further.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Have a good
Have
night.
Good evening.